once you ART, once you lacrosse ball, once you foam roll, what are the next steps? What are you then going to put back in? And I think that's where people miss the boat.
I want to know about your sciatica, but I also want to know more about what Mark was mentioning in terms of like, you know, using a lacrosse ball or something across different parts of your body, like the bottom of your foot and feeling some pain.
Huge.
When we had Mike Israetel on the podcast recently, do you guys know who Mike Israetel is?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. When we started talking about body work, he was someone who doesn't believe that body work is very effective. And he mentioned for himself, massages are painful, that type of like myofascial, like rolling on things is painful for him.
For sure.
And I was kind of surprised that he thought it wasn't necessarily that beneficial unless the athlete perceives it as beneficial.
I think he mainly was saying there's not a lot of research behind it.
Not a lot of research behind it? Okay.
I think that was kind of his main thing.
That was his main thing. So I am curious if somebody does like, you know, Kelly Starrett's Supernova. I started using that in maybe 2013 initially, very painful. But over time, like it helped out. It helped me become more supple in certain areas. I don't know exactly what happened to me, but it became a very easy tool to use, a non-painful tool to use. Was it because I just got used to that and I just didn't perceive as much pain? Or did a actual change happen to my different muscle fibers around my body? Is it actually as beneficial as maybe I think it is or no?
Well, there is an element of desensitization to the tissue that's occurring.
Yeah.
So when you foam roll your IT band, day one, it's horrible for almost anybody.
Yeah.
If you foam roll it every day for even 2 minutes or something, 30 seconds, eventually that becomes no problem. Just like playing the guitar is terrible after 1 minute. And then eventually, of course, they can play whole concerts with no issues. Of course, yeah, there's some callousing and stuff, but it's the same idea. This desensitization occurs. What doesn't occur, that I completely agree with Israel, by the way, is that we break stuff up and we create change in the tissue with our fingers.
There's research on that, yeah.
Yeah, I think I listened to it. I think he was referring to these studies where you have to, like, they take tissue out of your body like an IT band and they put it between two vices basically, and they say how much force does it take to deform that tissue by 1%, and it's like it's way more than, well, maybe Mark in your prime, but most people could never even lift those weights, much less I'm going to apply with my thumb or my finger to that tissue. But there's other explanations that people like Schlepp or the fascia people would point out, which is that human tissue is active and it's a real thing, and it has the ability to change itself. So there's things like myofibroblasts and different tissues inside that respond. There's all these like mechanotransductors or like things like.
Can you explain what that is, by the way, because you mentioned that. You guys mentioned mechanotransduction multiple times in the gym too. Yeah. What is that?
Yeah, like proprioceptors, mechanoreceptors.
Okay.
These type of cells, they sense things like pressure or tension or speed, like a Golgi tendon organ. It senses rapid speed. So like if you're sprinting and before you tear your hamstring off the bone, it's going to make you buckle or maybe even just fall down as opposed to rip the whole thing off the bone.
Okay.
These cells are what allow things to move. This is where like I can stick my elbow in Mark's back and then all of a sudden it lets go a bit and he can touch his toes where he couldn't before. That is the cells allowing tissue in the brain, mainly the brain, allowing this tissue to deform and become different than what it typically is.
Yes.
But we didn't actually change that tissue from a molecular structure standpoint. I mentioned MUA, like a manipulation under anesthesia.
Yeah.
So you take somebody after maybe knee surgery, you try to bend their knee and like nothing, it barely goes. You knock them out and you can push their heel to their butt. And they do this. They actually put them in a device that they put on their knee, and it just for like an hour just moves their heel to their butt like a robot. Like
does that cause like a lot of trauma, or
they are sore after it? Okay. But they wake up and they're like, my knee moves now. Because they never could have done that conscious, awake.
Do they do that to people that don't need surgery?
Yeah, there are.
Is it a practice?
Can I sign up for this?
Yeah, can it be a practice?
In certain states, I think it's washed. There's
like if your body's stiff. I mean, right?
There's a very popular chiropractor on TikTok, Instagram who commonly will adjust people under anesthesia. Like goes to a hospital, puts them under, and cracks them head to toe.
How do you feel about that? You guys, how do you guys feel about that?
I plead the fifth on this one.
Really?
Huh. What about from a mobility standpoint?
We'll talk about that shit off air. That sounds interesting.
If it's working from a standpoint of like somebody just had surgery, would it make some sense that it might work otherwise? I mean, chiropractic is one thing, but I'm talking about like just range of motion. Do you guys think it would be helpful, or does it body maybe not respond well to that, or?
I just pleaded the fifth on that person, by the way.
I know, yeah.
Not on
We
the
know
concept.
who
Okay, on the
person
con-
is.
on
On the
concept.
concept in
The concept,
general.
I mean.
Yeah.
Like, could Mark get some benefit? I would say if there's no orthopedic block in his knee, where it's literally, we call it end feel.
Yeah.
Take a joint to the end of the range of motion.
You guys licensed to do this? Let's do it.
No.
We are not. This is not our
I think it's like
area.
Washington and Oregon, those hippies up there. They
Road
let you do
trip.
anything.
Well, we don't give a fuck if you're licensed. Just knock them out and do this shit.
Yeah,
See
it'll
what
be fun.
happens.
He can just choke me out, and you guys can do whatever you want.
We give you
Perfect.
consent.
We got
Even the
about-
brown
Or just
thumb
give me
stuff.
mushrooms.
Not for me, maybe for him.
Yeah, I mean,
that was mushrooms?
What's in this mind bullet? Because I am flying. It's fantastic.
We can't tell you.
Amazing. No, it is valuable. There's value everywhere. I mean, people, it wouldn't be a thing if people didn't find value at times. This is where it goes back to the assessment. And there are people who are worse and there are people who are better after it. So, I mean, it's unique. Absolutely.
yeah, I just feel like if I was completely unconscious, you guys would be able to move my hips like way easier and way better. And I don't know, I feel like maybe if you created a pattern there so many
Right.
times over and over, maybe when I snap out of it, it might still be there.
That's the key. That's the trick, actually. Because going back to what Israel was talking about, massage is not good, or people talk about the foam roller or whatever is not good. How does that translate, rolling on a foam roller and an IT band, to then say running a 5K and having it now? So there's really that creating a pattern. They're saying that that a lacrosse ball or a foam roller is enough to break up some muscle and get your Golgi tendons to chill out a little bit and maybe desensitize the issue. But does that translate to you actually being able to bend over better? So there's a big gap there, basically. And if you're a good clinician, what you do is you go, okay, we loosen it up, and then we progress you very slowly, which we've been talking about constantly. But that leap, I understand what Israel is saying. There is a leap there that people make. They're like, just foam roll everything, you'll be better. It's a little bit more nuanced than that.
Chiropractic family, how's it going? Now, we like to look good in the gym and out of the gym. That's why you always see Mark and I and Andrew is stepping up on the short game, wearing shorts from Viore and clothes from Viore. And honestly, the number one compliment that I've gotten, and even Mark's gotten, is, damn, your butt looks good. And that's because, well, the clothes we wear make our booties look delicious. Andrew, how can they get it?
Yeah, you guys both have pretty big wagons. You guys can head over to viore.com/power project. That's VUORI.com/power project to receive 20% off the most amazing apparel that looks so good inside and outside of the
It's going to
gym.
make your ass look fat.
And your
people
ass
like
will
that.
look fat. Links to them down in the description, as well as the podcast show notes. God damn it.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Make your ass look fat.
And then when it comes to active release therapy, that's a therapy that was developed where you are taking somebody through a range of motion as you're, supposedly like scraping away the scar tissue. And maybe you are, maybe you're not, but you are probably reinforcing, like, I'm getting rid of this pain by sticking my thumb into your whatever thigh, and I'm going to move your leg as I'm doing this, and you're going to move. It still will hurt, but it will hurt differently. It's like the normal pain that you feel is it's like put on pause for a half second, and then you have pain just because somebody's putting pressure into a particular spot.
Pattern interrupts and pattern creation. The thing is, you can't just rug pull something. This is one of the things with meditation that people make a mistake on. Meditation is a mind fast. And if you don't put anything else in there, if you go and fast for a day and then go back to McDonald's, it's still not good, right? Like, you need to put something good in there. So once you ART, once you lacrosse ball, once you foam roll, what are the next steps? What are you then going to put back in? And I think that's where people miss the boat and where the research is correct. That's my problem with systems. You got to bring a bunch of them in together.
Yeah, I think manual therapy, massage, all these tools, K-Star stuff, I think it all is just a tool, but it's like the story doesn't end there. That's passive therapy. And I actually don't do that much manual therapy anymore. And I have noticed very little difference in my outcomes. I still believe it's entirely valuable, but it's a tool. So that I do agree with Israel. Like, you can't just use use some tool and scrape out the tissue and then they're going to be better tomorrow. Like, there's no said principle, right? There's no other input that's supposed to like help that improve. All you're saying, like, you loosen something up, but why was it tight in the beginning? Many things are tight because they're weak. So they get tight to lock things down, and you get stability now. So if you're not strong enough, it just gets tight. It prevents that way you don't fall over, and we fight gravity. So that's going to do nothing for your weakness. So, but what these manual therapies are great for is getting you to feel something, maybe temporarily unlocking, we'll quote, unlocking something. So if Mark couldn't feel his hip on an exercise or his glutes, and we do some muscle work and some extra stuff, and he said, now I can feel it. Okay, now we train that thing, and now we get a better said response or specific adaptation when he goes to load it. Because before he couldn't feel it, maybe he was in a bad position, and now when you load it, those fibers get the kind of stress and the mechanotransduction, that word you wanted me to explain. It's basically a stress through a tissue that allows it to get stronger. Bones do this too. It's called the piezoelectric effect, where you stress bone and there's like crystal and energy that basically, not that kind of crystal energy, but that allows it to lay down more bone. And none of that occurs through passive modalities, passive treatments. So, I mean, I'm just a massive proponent of active movement. That's why it comes back full circle. And I think sometimes people like you guys, hands-on all day long with maybe somebody in the gym or personal trainers, they have often, they may not have all the skills, but they probably have the best chance to create the biggest change in people sometimes, because they're just with them all the time, and they're right there. And I wish like clinics, chiro clinics, PT clinics looked a lot more like a gym. You know, hang from this bar. Oh, it hurts, your left shoulder hurts. Let's put an input, hang from it again. It's gone. And we know we made a change. Is it permanent? We don't know yet. But we know we made a change versus a sterile clinic environment. You know, they're coming in because it hurts on the third snatch.
Yeah.
And I'm going, well, here's an orthopedic test. That's negative now. I have no idea if it's going to improve their snatch. So I hope in the future, you know, clinics, at least for the non-medical, you know, hospital type of setting, looks a little bit more like a gym, you know, like where my man here works.
Or you guys had Aaron on here, Squat U. His clinic is very, it's a gym.
Same with Stu McGill.
Same as Stu, legend, yeah.
And there's this other guy, Oscar, who Mark actually introduced me to, and I do some work with him now. He has like a squat rack, a bunch of bands, a bunch of things in his clinic. It's like, I think there are a lot of people that are starting to take that approach and seeing how useful it is.
I won't go as far as like Pavel Sasulian, who was like, I won't go see a chiropractor unless he can deadlift 400 pounds. I don't mind that. That's a good chiropractor, I bet, though.
Yeah. Bobby, you were mentioning your sciatica and how you had to stand for 6 months. Did you actually manage to fix that? Is it still a reoccurring issue?
I have the ability to recreate my sciatica if I want.
Oh.
It takes a lot more now. I don't really have to think about it. But if I slouch as hard as I can for a 4-hour car ride, I can create some discomfort. It goes away really fast now, though. So before, I wasn't even able to do the McGill Big 3. Just doing like a bird dog would elicit like a punch to my calf. So and again, it's a little bit about luck. It just happens to be a disc that is lateral and sits right in this recess where the nerve exits. Eventually, I got imaging, but at this point, I'm like, this is going to be a disc bulge right in this lateral area. And that's exactly what came back. And it's that medium-sized bulge that tends to not go away on its own.
Medium bulge.
Medium bulge.
Could be worse.
Could be.
Could be worse. So, so my advice for those people would be, the first thing is definitely the McGill type of stuff, which is just stop triggering it. You know, that is step one, right? If you have a cut and you just keep rubbing it and it keeps bleeding, you just start over, like you're just stuck. So the first thing is to stop triggering it. But eventually you do have to grow. You have to move forward. And that's, if you're in my position, I highly recommend some professional help for guidance to go through that path. I honestly believe most people would have had a surgery in my situation because it didn't respond to anything. It took so much time. And if I had sought out orthopedic help, they would say, well, we'll just do a discectomy. You know, it's minimally invasive and you'll be fine. You know, and sometimes you are, and sometimes they have these operations and they are not better afterwards, especially in long term. So a lot of times with these outcomes, when you look at the studies, immediately after operation, a meniscectomy, taking out a meniscus, immediately after the results are better with surgery. In the long run, they tend to equalize. And I was okay with that. I was okay to play the long game. But I have some set of skills, some very specific set of skills that allow me to be okay with it. I knew that I was not going to blow it out completely and have cauda equina syndrome where you shit yourself and you didn't know you do it. You guys have that?
I am. Yeah, I
after
have that
I'm
all the time.
squatting sometime.
After Chipotle, for sure.
That happened to me the other day.
Oh,
First,
no.
like I was like,
You had Chipotle?
No, I didn't have Chipotle, but I don't remember what I was doing. But I was like, I pushed, and little shit came out. I was like, no. It was so embarrassing.
You have to get to a certain level where you're just like, oh no, like again. Like it's not like a scared child. What just happened? It was like, oh no.
Did you mess yourself, or did the deep cheeks come in handy?
Deep
Nah,
cheeks.
it hit the
Deep
boxers.
cheeks.
It hit the boxers a little bit. I had to change it up, but I was at home, so it was okay.
Skid marks.
Golly.
It kind of sucked. Hey guys, if you like this clip, go ahead and comment down below and let us know what you liked about it. All right, share this with a friend. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, and also we are on Reddit and Discord. All that's down below. All our sponsors and everyone that supports us down below there too, so you can get whatever you like from us. All right, peace.